All right, you know what it is. This one's about two Christian brothers, man. A black dude and a Colombian dude. All right, this is about two Christian brothers, and about Sunday being this Sunday, I want to give you, what a prison sermon looks like in prison on Sunday. All right, watch it till the end, man. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed, and hit the like button right now. All right. All right, you know what it is, man. You know what it is. You know what it is. Unique Mecca audio, man. I'm gonna bring you into, what I had to witness in prison for 26 years. All right, it's Sunday. All right, I get up, I get ready. I'm getting ready, go on a visit. So, I get my little gear out and, my prayer oil, because they don't sell cologne in there, but they sell, Muslim prayer oil at the commissary, like Obsession, Polo, things like that. So I get my little joint out and, I go to the yard, I work out with the homies and, we smoke a joint. One of the homies might bring out a little white lightning. We take a little couple of sips of white lightning and we chilling and, you know what I mean? Because they got yard about 7:30 and visit don't start till 8. And I know my visit coming before 10 o'clock count. So I go out there, get my little smoke on, and, I see these two Christian brothers walking around the track, right? They always walking around the track. It's a little short black dude, young dude, in his 20s. And the other dude was Colombian, and he was also in his 20s, and both of them were short, about 5'2", 5'3", slim built. And, they walk around, and the Colombian always have his Bible with him, and the black dude is always with him, and he's in his ear, and they always walking and talking, and, we assume they talking all that Christian stuff. Yeah, I said Christian stuff for you rat bastards and trolls and flip-flop wearing public dudes that want to go complaining. So they talking their Christian stuff. They walking around the track. And, I'm working out and, I got my little buzz on. I'm chilling, and, we go back in the unit and, they getting ready for church. I'm getting ready for visit. And the black dude goes and he gets the, Colombian clothes. The Colombian, he always wear a little white baseball hat, and he gets the clothes and he goes, he irons his clothes and, iron his own clothes. And, they getting ready to go to church after 10 o'clock count, and I'm ready to go to visit before 10 o'clock count. So, I go out to visit. I have a good time. We doing what we got to do. After visit, we come back in. Now, when we come back in, I see the two Christians, they sitting at the table and, they're reading the Bible again, the black dude and the little Colombian dude. And, the Colombian dude barely even spoke English. So I don't even know how they communicated. He was a little short, young dude, I think he was here for like, re-entry into the country or something. So he had some light time, and the black dude had some light time. The black dude girl used to come up to see him maybe once every 2-3 months, and she was bad. I mean, like when we go out on a visit, we look at the girls, and we try and see which girl is the prettiest girl and who she came to see, so we could see who shut the visiting hall down for the day, as we call it, Meaning everybody out there with their girl, but they busy looking at, the different girls to see who looks the best, so that, we could rate her, come back in and talk about how her pants was all up in it, and you could see her camel toe, and, the ass was this and that, and, this is where our little perverted little penitentiary minds are after being around men so long. So now this dude is sitting there and, his girl come to the visit one day. I'm out there in the visit and I see, and his girl is drop dead gorgeous, And, he goes out there, and when he go back, the Colombian dude is waiting for him outside the visiting hall, and, he got his Bible with him, and they go walking the track before they call the last move, get a little air, talking about whatever. They go back in the unit, and when they go in the unit, the black dude, he, he goes and he cooks food for him and the Colombian. If he don't have any food or whatever, he'll come to you and be like, "Hey, yo, Unique, I'm trying to eat today. I ain't got nothing to eat, you know. I mean, well, give me a soup and a mackerel, and I'll put everything else." So he goes and he cleans cells and things like that for other people, the black dude. So he'll come back with a super mackerel. Now, when he come out with super mackerel, I make a nice bowl of some stewed down vegetables with mackerel with the little gravy to put over the white rice. And, the meal was fire. So when I tell him, go get your bowl. So he go gets his bowl and he comes back with two bowls. So I'm like, yo, I'm putting everything in one bowl. And he said, nah, I need some for my Christian brother, you know? I said, dog, I only charge you a soup and a mackerel to get in. You know what I mean? You really needed two soups, and mackerel, onions, green peppers, and, Saison and everything else. I only charge you a soup and mackerel because you said you was hurting this week, you know? He said, yeah, but I got to make sure he eat. I said, well, I tell you what, this is what you're going to have to do. Because I was raw like that. I said, you're going to have to bust your bowl down with your Christian brother. But I don't have enough to give you and your Christian brother a bowl. So now he got a little attitude, but he takes the bowl and he goes sit at the table and he busts it down. Him and the little Christian brother, they eating their food and they chilling, right? So now they reading the Bible while they doing what they got to do. Then, they go in the cell, wash the bowl out, do whatever they got to do. And then the black dude, you know, started asking me, yo, me and all the other brothers, that sit at the table that been down a little longer because he was younger than us. Me and my Christian brother be studying all the time, and we like to hold prayer service, and we want to do prayer service at night. And, the best time to pray, is like 2, 3 in the morning when you know what I mean when the angels are up and but they won't put us in the cell together because he's Spanish and I'm black and it was racist like that in the system. So I tell them, well, you know what I mean, why don't you go to them and just explain to them what you explained to me. And I said I think they might do it. So the homies at the table said, yeah, they might do that. All y'all do is study the Bible anyway, walk around with your Christian stuff going on. So they go talk to the unit team. The unit team put them in the same cell. So now they in the same cell and they've been there for about a month. And you got vents in the cell that blows the air in the cell, and all the vents is connected. Like, this cell, the cell right above it, the vent goes up there so you can yell up in the vent during the lockdown and, talk to people in the cell. Yo, what happened? What we locked down for? You talking in the cell and you finding out or whatever. So they winds up in the same cell and everybody hears them praying in there, every night, The Colombian dude, he praying in Spanish, and the black dude, he's praying in English, and they get up in the morning, they sit at the table together, they waiting on them to call chow, and now they living together, and the black dude is doing everything for this Colombian dude. I figured maybe because he couldn't speak English, that's why he's looking out for him in the manner that he's looking out for him. So now he's sitting there, he washes his clothes, because we had washing machines and dryers. He washes his clothes, he irons his clothes, he makes sure that they got food to eat every time we eat at dinner time. If they want, little zoom zooms and wham whams, that's what you call potato chips, cookies or whatever, and chocolate bars. You might want to sit down with a nice bowl of food and a Pepsi or, even a Kool-Aid and just, relax and watch a movie. These two would sit next to each other all the time, and the Christian always kept his Bible on him, and he barely even spoke the Colombian. He barely spoke English, and he barely even spoke that much. But, these two always talked. So we're wondering, you know, does he even understand the movie? But maybe he just liked the company of being with the dude. So the two of them sitting there watching a movie and they sharing their popcorn and zoom zooms and wham whams and everything is good. And next thing you know, we go to we go to the gym. Now we in the gym. The black dude play basketball real good. He playing basketball and he chilling. While he chilling playing basketball, you got the Colombian dude who's sitting on the bleachers and he got his Bible on his lap and he's watching and he's smiling and he's cheering him on because the dude was nice. He was from North Carolina. He was real nice. So we go back to the unit and the dude pulls up on me and he says, Unique, you know, I'm next door to the two Christians that moved in. And every morning about 3 o'clock, I hear them praying, and then I'm hearing some other noise, and I'm thinking maybe they got a little speaker. Did you lend them your speaker? Because I had a little speaker, because they used to make speakers. I got to make one and show you what it looked like. We used to take like a hardcover book to make a speaker case, and then we'll get a magazine page, and we'll cut it in a circle and cut it a certain way so it looks like the cone in the speaker, and then we take a magnet from the R10 speaker and a little piece of board to put behind it. I got to show you this stuff because we're real creative in jail. And with the magnet pointed at that, cone that we made out of the magazine cover, it's like, it pushes the music out, and now you hear the sound loud from that little magnet in the R10 speaker, right? So they're like, did you lend him your speaker? You been lending him your speaker? I'm like, nah. And he said, oh, nah, because I've been hearing some funny noises coming from out the cell. So I thought maybe it was listening to Art LeBeau. Because we used to listen to Art LeBeau on AM. Art LeBeau was the late night joint for the truckers, like one of the first podcasts where a dude would tell, like, and people call in. He did a podcast. And this is all the way back from in the 90s, before podcasting. But that's how long Art LeBeau been on. You could look him up. Where people will call in and he'll talk about UFOs, and people call in talking about how they saw UFOs, and they'll even play the sounds that they recorded from the UFO. So the homie didn't know what all the crazy sounds was. So I said, well, maybe they in there rapping or something. I mean, figured maybe he was a rapper and they was beatboxing, and that was the sound they was hearing. I know they didn't have a speaker. So they up in the joint, and, my man comes back to me about, 2-3 days later. He said, Unique, you sure you ain't give me a speaker? The sounds are getting louder, So I said, nah. So then one of the homies pulled up on me and he said, yo, Unique, I think them two dudes is on his cipher, monkey cipher time. Nah, not that, nah. You know what I mean? I said, why you say that? He said, didn't the homie see hearing sounds out of them? The black dude catering to him like he's his woman, And I'm not paying it no mind, because that's the last thing on my mind, So I'm like, nah, get out of here. Can't be. So dude said, man, watch these two dudes, man. And I said, man, I ain't gotta watch no man. I mean, they ain't on that type of time. That's little homie and little Colombian homie. Them people, they just into their Christian talk. They just weird. You know what I mean? That's how I looked at it. It was just weird, So my man is like, yeah, all right. So then one day, the Spanish dude, the Colombian dude, takes all the black dude's property and throws it out the cell. You know what I mean? And he's cussing in Spanish. Little dude, about 5'2", 5'3", about maybe $120. He takes all his property and throws it out and tell him he got to get out the cell. They went through hell to get in, but now they fighting. So everybody's looking at it like, damn, maybe he didn't remember the scripture or something. You know what I mean? We all making jokes on why they fighting, because these two little dudes, and me, I like a good fight. So, I'm going over there. I'm trying to instigate it. So I'm telling the black dude, yo, how you going to let him disrespect you and throw your stuff out the cell like that? Nigga, like you saw for something. That was your cell. You moved him in. Don't let him get away with that, man. If that was me, I'll punch him in his face. And the dude looked at me. The black dude looked at me. And he said, man, you right. So he go get his stuff and he go put it back in the cell. So now, when he put it back, the Colombian throws it back out. So I go to the Colombian dude that didn't speak that much English, and I said, yo, if you threw his stuff out the cell, there's no way in hell he's supposed to bring it back in the cell. It's like he don't even respect your gangster, And the Colombian dude looked at me, and he started nodding his head, see, like, you right, you know what I mean? I said, man, when he come in the cell, if I was you, I'd just punch him in his face. That's where I wish I had an iPhone so I could record it. So as the black dude come in the cell, the Christian dude hauls off and smacks he didn't even know how to throw a punch, you know what I mean? He smacked the crap out the black dude. I said, oh, man. So I said to the black dude, I said, man, you gonna let him get away with that? And he hooks off on him. So I said, oh, man, yo, but that smack was crazy. So now the two of them in there fighting, and I'm watching this fight, and I'm instigating and talking, man, get him. Don't let him get away with that. Yo, hit him with the Bible. Hit him with the Bible. I'm telling him, hit him with the Bible and everything. Forget me, you rat bastards and trolls. I mean, that's just where my mentality was at. So I'm like, man, hit him with the Bible. So the black dude smacks the crap out of him with the Bible, and I swear, you know what I mean? I swear, it's like he hit him so hard in being that he's Colombian and he's light skinned, he was like one of those almost white looking Colombians. When he smacked him in the face with the Bible, I swear, this guy walked around with the word Bible on the side of his face like a tattoo. It was like from the welt, from how hard he hit him with the Bible in his face. So now, you know, I tell him, man, y'all take that back in the cell, man, and finish that up, man. I mean, how you gonna let them smack you and put a Bible print on your face and you don't do nothing about it? You know what I mean? So they go in there, they fighting again. So now something happened in the yard and they had a lockdown. So now we locked down that same day. So now we locked down while they fighting. So I'm kind of pissed off. I mean, gunshots, gunshots, gunshots. I'm so pissed off because I want to see the rest of the fight, but somebody stabbed somebody somewhere else in the jail. And then now here we go, they locked in. And I can't see the rest of the fight. So now, about 3-4 days later, we come out, and these two dudes are smiling, and the Colombian, and you already know how I feel about flip-flops, The Colombian comes walking out in the day room with a robe on and flip-flops. You know what I mean? So I tell the Colombian, I said, yo, we don't do that in the day room. And the Colombian just looked at me like, now he don't understand English. I'm saying, all right, so I pulled my man up. I said, yo, that's your celly. He got on flip-flops. If a dude smacked the crap out of you right now, he can't even help you. So what is he doing with flip-flops out here in the common area? So he go talk to dude. They argue for a minute, but the dude go in there and he put on his boots and lace them up and he come back out. You don't think they're getting ready to fight because the black dude talked to him so greasy because the Colombian didn't understand that we don't do flip-flops in public, in the day room and all that. Keep that in the cell. That's for the shower. So now they sitting up in there and all this crap is going on. So my man comes to me. He said, yo, we've been locked down a few days for that fight, right? I said, yeah. He said, yo, there's no way in hell you could tell me that these two dudes was not in there having sex. I said, what? Sex who? He said, man, I think they having sex, man. He cipher, monkey cipher. That day they was fighting like animals. They sat there and I heard all kinds of grunting noises through the vent. This is what my man is telling me. And I'm like, nah, dog. So now I go back and I pulled the little black dude up. I said, yo, my man, homie said that he heard grunting in the cell and was carrying on in there like if y'all was having sex or something. And the black dude had the nerve to look at me and tell me, yeah, that's my woman. I said, yo, what? He said, that's my woman. I said, you've been talking to me about moving in the cell with another man that I think y'all just cool trying to hold each other down the whole time. Y'all are he cipher, monkey cipher. You know what I mean? And he said, and the messed up part is, because like I said, I'm a 5%. Here go my flag. Let me show you the flag. You know what I mean? I had this flag on from, back in the late 70s. So he was a 5%er. So I said, yo, dog, we don't do that. First of all, where you get that from? And he looked at me and he said, but I love him, dog. I said, you what? I smacked the crap out this dude. I said, dude, go in your cell and get me all your lessons. Anything you got with 5% on it. I want your 120, I want your plus degrees, I want everything and bring it out to the day room right now, So he looked at me like I was crazy and I just reached over the table and I smacked him again. I said, man, go get everything out your cell that deals with 5%. You totally disrespected the nation. You know what I mean? So he goes to the cell, he brings it all back out. You know what I mean? And I said, so you telling me that you love this man more than you love yourself because, I serve Lord and Master and we don't deal with he cipher, monkey ciphers, And he said, yo, I can't help it. I said, oh, man. I said, this is what we going to do, bro. Don't come near me. I mean, and I know, what's going on in today's time. Y'all don't like me saying it. I'm just keeping it 100. I said, don't come near me. If I'm on the phone, don't come near me. You know what I mean? If I'm going to the shower, if I'm going to the washroom, wherever I'm going, you stay far away from me and you keep your he monkey cipher biatch away from me. He said, damn, you gonna take it there? I said, yeah, I'm gonna take it there. So me and him never spoke again. So he stayed in there about another 6 months. And then he gets paroled. You know what I mean? So he gets paroled. And then about a week after he got paroled, he called somebody back in the jail you know. Like they call, you know, when people leave, they leave their phone number for you to call, get in touch with their people or whatever. So he left his girl's number for him to call, because, you know, he didn't have a phone and cell phones wasn't out then. This is about maybe 2010, so everybody didn't have cell phones. So he didn't have no cell phone, but his girl had a phone and she had a house phone. So dude called the house phone and nobody's answered. So we thinking that something wrong, maybe boy got locked up, you know what I mean? So I said, well, good for his he cipher monkey cipher ass, you know what I mean? So the next day my man come and he says, yo, dude got locked up, you know what I mean? I said, what you mean he got locked up? He said, nah, he locked up in the county jail for murder. I said, murder? I said, what happened? You know what I mean? And he said, man, I ain't talked to him yet, but I talked to his sister, and the sister said that he came home and told his wife, you know, his girl, that he wanted his old cellie to be able to stay with them because he's from Colombia. He's here on a re-entry and he needed an address to stay in, you know, the United States while he goes through his immigration thing. And, you know, the girl was receptive of it and then asked him, you know, well, we only got a 1-bedroom. So how long is he gonna stay? He gonna have to stay on the couch, you know what I mean? And dude said, nah, he gonna sleep in the room with us. And she said, how's he gonna sleep in the room with us? That's our room. And he actually told his girl that that was his lover from in the prison, you know? His girl got mad, called him all kinds of he cipher, monkey cipher. They get to fight and he pulls out a gun and he shoots his girl in the head. True story. He shoots, true, gunshots. He shoots his girl in the head and kills his girl, you know? He goes to court for this murder charge, and about 5-6 months later, they send him back to the jail. So when he came into jail, I said, you know, I didn't talk to him before he left, you know what I mean? But I had to ask him what happened. Because, you know, in the jail, everybody got a different story, you know what I mean, what happened, you know? So I catch him going through the metal detector. I said, yo, what happened? Did you back on a murder charge? He said, I tried to tell my girl, this is a true story. He said, I tried to tell my girl that I was, you know, in love with my cellie, and it was all right for the three of us to live together, and she bugged out, and she started fighting me, and I got mad, and I shot her in the head. I said, why would you do that? He said, but I love him, dog. I said, oh, man, I'm out of here.
Cheers, toast the crime.
Fresh out the can of 26, he back on the strip, getting back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, make an audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was wine. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. They be horn uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, you we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend a ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours. So we can give back to the youth them. Cause they the truth them. And bless up to all the rudiments.